We are honored to have Ann Ranson doing our Sunday message. Let me tell you a little bit about Ann. First of all, she facilitated our board retreat on September 29th. We had a wonderful, wonderful time together, so thank you very much for that. She mixed in some intuitive work, so we had a personal experience together and really gained some personal insights and had some growth and bonding together. And then she took us into the actual training and the work and setting goals and working on mission and vision. So thank you, Ann. It was just wonderful. So Ann, over the past 11 years, has worked on over 60 strategic plans for nonprofits and associations. She began attending Unity of Dallas as a teenager and has been involved in living their principles ever since. For over 7 years, she was affiliated with the Center for Nonprofit Management as a Leaders Circle facilitator and is one of their consultants in their Consultant Affinity Group, which ended in 2015. Prior to her work as a strategy consultant, Ann was a sales and marketing manager for major broadcast companies. Ann Ranson.
This microphone on my head. Good morning.
Good morning.
How's everyone?
Good.
So I believe that we're all being called for different reasons and in 1,000 different ways. I think we're being called to awaken, to journey within, to look around us, and to be intentional. Yet some of us ignore the call. Knock, 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 nobody's home. So when we do act, a lot of times our actions come as a result of tension. And I think most of us, or at least certainly I do, think in terms of tension as a negative energy. But let's imagine for a moment that there's a positive kind of energy. So we're going to look at a quick film clip from the movie Eat, Pray, Love, where I see tension as a very positive factor. In this particular scene, Philippe, who's played by heartthrob Javier Bardem, if I'm saying that properly, he pauses, he's sitting and reading, he pauses, he gets up, walks across the room, triggering all kinds of tension. Let's watch that film clip. So the line that really stands out to me is, darling, it's time.
Yes, it is.
And I think this goes back to we're being called. We're being called to stand up. He heard the call, and in that breathtaking scene, he took some action. So can you imagine what your life would look like? Well, first of all, in Bali would be nice, a place to visualize ourselves, right? But can you imagine yourself where peace was at the forefront of your daily living? What do you think that would do to your relationships, to your health, to all the things that you're dealing with on a day-to-day basis? So I invite you today as we talk about, because the whole topic today is about finding peace in everyday life. And I'm going to share with y'all a process that I've created, just 3 simple steps. And I don't know if y'all have ever heard the expression, things can be very simple and yet not easy. And so we're not saying easy always, but we're definitely saying simple. So the 3-step process that we're going to talk about today, the first one is about finding and creating Oasis moments. The second is about sending CJ to the library. What might that be? And then thirdly, to commit to take some action. So let's begin by exploring what are Oasis moments? So I believe an Oasis moment is when we are fully present to what's going on right here, right now. I invite you to stop and pause both. Look around the room, find something that you can appreciate. Maybe it's that gorgeous stained glass with the dove coming through. Maybe it's a friend. Maybe it's something you see behind me. So just pause and see something and really appreciate it. Of course, I get to see all your bright, shining faces. So those Oasis moments, I don't know about y'all, but from time to time, I get caught up in the rat race. And I'm not aware of so many things that are going on around me. And yet, there is beauty, there is peace, there is love, there is goodness, there's all of these things. But we have to stop long enough and set the intention and be aware of the good that's around us. I have a mission, which is to be a ripple for good. I want to magnify the good that exists in the world. I do not want to find myself victimized by the craziness that's going on in the world, by the divisiveness, by the anger, the hatred, the separation, the ideas of how we're separate. So I think as we pause and we find these Oasis moments, what happens? Well, first of all, we feel really great. And it's simple things. It could be as you're walking to your car, leaving the office, you pause and you realize there's a mockingbird singing in that tree. And you just, 3 seconds, stop and become aware and appreciate that. Perhaps it is you remember the sound of that precious child of yours as they used to sing in Sunday school. So they're everywhere, but we just have to stop and realize them and recognize them. Now, my big challenge to peace is often called Central Expressway. I live off of Central, so I get to drive that lovely thoroughfare on numerous occasions every week. And that has become a trigger for me as people are not paying attention and they're cutting people off and they're cutting in front of you. And so my old habit would be to say something less than kind about that person who has just cut me off. And so, but with my work in the Oasis moments, my invitation to myself is to say, okay, even in this moment where it seems like something frustrating is happening, this is also an opportunity for me to find an Oasis moment. So how can I express gratitude? And so that's become my new thing. It's like, thank you for making me aware that I'm driving on this freeway. Thank you for making me aware that I should be paying attention. And I should be a beacon of love even as I'm barreling down Central Expressway. So we know in unity teachings, we can make positive out of anything. Because there's always a lesson, right? There's always something good hidden within what looks like a pretty difficult situation. So that's my big work, is to be able to find Oasis moments in the midst of LBJ and Central Expressway and all of the day-to-day things that we're going through. So stop for a moment and recall a time or a place. Perhaps it was a time you went on vacation and you were looking out over the Grand Canyon, or you were out in Big Bend near Marfa, where I have not been, but they say the skies are just gorgeous. So call that memory of something you'd like to really appreciate in this particular moment. Bring that in. So one of the principles of unity is what we focus on expands. I think they say by right of correspondence, whatever the language is. You know, if I look for good, what am I going to find? And if I don't look for good, if I get caught up in the evil or the hatred or the negativity, then what am I going to find? I'm going to find more of that same thing. So by looking for good, by looking for peace, by looking for beauty, we're going to see more and more of it. And I believe that helps us and it helps our planet because we are putting more good and positive energy out into the universe every time we have those positive thoughts. So that's the first step. I think it's an easy step. It's simple and it's easy. Would you agree it's easy? Okay, I think I'm tapping on something here. Okay, so step 1, find Oasis moments. Step number 2, send CJ to the library. Huh? Who is CJ and what library and why? Okay, so I don't know about y'all, but sometimes I have a tape running in my head that says, ring, 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 ring. You're not pretty enough, smart enough, short enough, tall enough, all of the inadequacies, all of the things. Why did you say that? Why didn't you say this other thing? So I call that voice my critical judge. So I named her, and her name is CJ. So now y'all can rename your own critical judge. I'm guessing everybody has one to some extent or at one time or another. So CJ. So she's pretty active in my head a lot of times. And as I began to explore this idea of how are we going to find peace, not just in a philosophical conversation, this is a practical application that I'm trying to share with y'all, something I've been using that has helped me in the last couple of years really come to a whole new level of understanding of what's possible. And that some simple steps can make a difference. So I personally like times of quiet contemplation. And so I like to go deep. I like to think about if something on a news program comes up. I will often pause the TV and think about, well, what do I think about this particular story that they're saying? What do I know about? What are some judgments that I'm making about these people and about this situation? And is that how I want to feel? Or is there something that I want to try to change or transcend from that conversation or from that news story? So as I share my enthusiasm for these quiet times and for this idea of in that quiet, we're going to journey within. We're going to learn about ourselves. I'm going to learn, why did I react to that news story that way? What is the fear or the limiting belief that I'm carrying that I'd like to overcome? Well, so when I share this idea, don't y'all want to sit and get quiet and journey within? People kind of, yes, well, maybe I'll get back to you on that. I don't have to sign up to do that right now, do I? And so people share their fear about that with me. And because I think it's great fun, I had to stop and think, well, what is causing that fear? So as I pondered through this, I thought, okay, so we have CJ, that for some of us is kind of on a continuous loop. And all of a sudden it occurred to me, and then I began talking to people. The reason a lot of people, I've found so far, don't want to sit in quietness, don't want to journey within, is because they think CJ is going to be very judgmental. And that when they sit in quiet, they're going to hear everything they've ever done wrong. It's just going to start with that whole litany of list. Well, remember when you were 7 years old and you did blah, blah. So why would you want to sit in quietness if you're going to get beat up? So I thought, okay, then we've got to do something with CJ. If we're going to have a fruitful, beautiful, joyful experience with this joy within, we've got to leave CJ someplace else. She can't take that trip with us, right? So I send CJ to the library. And I think, that's a place I want to be. We've got thousands of books. She can do whatever she wants. She can read every one of them. She can pick one. But the key is you can't go with me on my journey within. Because my journey within is based on self-love, self-discovery, and who am I at my deepest core. So when I say send CJ to the library, It's about you sending that inner critic, that critical judge, as I call her, someplace else. Because rarely are her messages in our best interest. Now, I will say this in defense of CJ. I think she thinks she's helping me. Because, she's trying to prevent me from being in a bad situation. She's trying to prevent me from being hurt. And all of the excuses that we get from not just our critical judge, but from our family and friends who say, oh, don't go that far. Don't do that. You might get hurt. It might not work out. So, along with all the other naysayers, you want to put her to the side and step fully into this journey within and discover who we are. Because as we see who we are and we embrace who we are, do you imagine we're going to be more at peace? Because we don't have that fight going on inside us all the time. Because, as CJ is telling us all of our inadequacies, does anybody else try to defend themselves? Yeah, and so it's back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. So we're going to send her to the library. So that's step number 2. We're going to start with Oasis moments. They're easy. We're going to find them. We're going to create them. Then we're going to journey within. And we're going to put CJ in the library. And then the last thing we're going to do, the step 3, is we're going to make a commitment. Because we live in a very busy world. And it's very easy for us to get sidetracked. Excuse the allergies. It's easy to get sidetracked and forget, oh yeah, we were going to do those Oasis moment things, or we were going to work to journey within. But when we make a commitment and we say, you know what, I do want more peace in my life. Peace in my everyday life is possible, and I'm going to make a commitment to do something about that. So what could that commitment look like on a practical level? Because I have committed to many things in my life. I have spent probably a couple of $1,000s in the last 2 years at a gym. And I have been there, 10 or 15 times in 2 years. So I made a financial commitment. I thought that's what it was going to take to get me into the gym. So for me, I'm a user. I use affirmations. I put little notes around, things that reinforce the ways I want to be, the things that I want to learn and experience, because I have to be reminded of that commitment so that it becomes a habit. And after so many days, like I've had to start doing this new physical therapy thing where I have to use hot packs on my eyes. Well, for the first month, I forgot about 80% of the time. Well, so now I'm to the point where I remember about 80% of the time. So we just have to build those habits, and it starts with us making a commitment to act, to do something differently, to find that Oasis moment and then hold on to it. So it starts as a 3-second experience, and how do you make that into a 10-second or a 20-second? How do you make that into something that you're going to experience throughout the whole day? So we have Oasis moments, we have the journey within after we've sent CJ to the library, and then we've made a commitment to act. So 3 simple steps. And that's all it really takes for us to be able to find more peace in everyday life. The commitment, I think, is the hard part. The actually doing it day in and day out. I think also in thinking about the commitment to act, for some of us, it's also about deciding that we are worthy. I am worthy to have a life that is built on peace. Because some of us don't believe that. Some of us were raised in environments that were very chaotic, very judgmental, and we have no frame of reference for what that's like. So another step in that is to make that commitment to be sure, absolutely, every one of us deserves to live a life that is filled with peace, that is filled with joy, where we have freedom. Because I think freedom comes from when we're authentic. And that's one of the things we get from that journey within. We find out who we really are so that we can support that. So in closing, you're going to create your Oasis moments, being present, appreciating, building your experience of gratitude in the tiniest of ways. One of the experiences that I had fairly recent, I was so excited. One day I went out in the backyard and a dove was making a nest in a hot place up on top of an electric box that was attached to my house. Well, every morning I would wake up and I would go and I would peek and be very quiet because I didn't want to scare them or make them fly away. And so every day, like for 2 weeks, I would go out. Well, I had to go out of town for a few days, and when I came back, they were gone. And it was like I didn't know what had happened to them. But that moment when I would walk out in the back and peek around to see if it was still there, that's an Oasis moment. What a great way to start the day. Instead of getting up and remembering, oh, I've got all these things to do, I really don't want them, starting in that peaceful way. Journey within and make a commitment. So, I'd like to invite y'all to make a commitment that before you go to bed tonight, you find at least one thing that you want to turn into an Oasis moment. Maybe it's looking one of your friends in the eye, see the gentleness and the beauty within them, and then what if you shared that? You know, we all want to hear words that affirm our goodness, our beauty within, our lovingness. I'm in a private Facebook group, a business group, and the leader of the group on Friday posted a question, and she said, if you'd like me to give you a personal message of how I see you and the impact you've had on my life, please put yes. This was on Facebook. So I said yes. And she wrote this beautiful, like 2 sentences about how she has experienced me. And of course, it was all good. And it was just, it felt so affirming. But we don't always stop and take the moment to say how wonderful. Like, sir, I'm sorry I don't remember your name, but I heard you singing this morning. And you have such a beautiful voice. Just stopping and appreciating. So that's my invitation. Before you go to bed tonight, find or create at least one Oasis moment. These 3 steps will help you find peace in everyday life. Thank you.
So let's take this in a meditation. Take a deep breath. Just breathe. And let's find an Oasis moment and stay there during this meditation. Recall a place. Maybe, like Anne said, it's a vacation spot. Maybe it's a place in your home where you love to sit. Maybe it's being with someone special in your life, holding them, hugging them, talking to them. Maybe it's a scene from childhood with a beloved grandparent, aunt or uncle, your parents perhaps, a sibling. Find that moment and hold it. Call it to your heart. Breathe into it. See all the detail of the place and the time. What time of year is it? Is it nighttime? Is it morning? Is the sun blazing in the afternoon? Is it cool and shady? What do you hear? Bird song? Waves crashing? Someone singing? Someone saying, "I love you"? What do you feel? Do you feel the touch of someone's skin? Or have they kissed you sweetly? Just be in the moment. What are you feeling? Is it love? Gratitude? Is it blissful? Just feeling a ripple of joy through your heart. Is your heart overflowing with love? What do you feel? Let yourself feel it fully, deeply. See yourself in that moment, in that place, in that time. Let it flood your senses. Let the colors come alive. Just breathe into the peaceful moment. Feel yourself relax. Just be there. Just be. Continue to hold it. Let's just be here in peaceful oasis together in the silence. Continue to breathe, knowing that this oasis is yours to call up whenever you want, whenever you need it. This peace within is yours. It is you. freeze frame that picture in your mind. Save it in your memory banks. When life starts to happen, call it back. Breathe in to the feelings, the sights, the sounds, colors, the joy, the peace, the love. And return home to peace again. Let's take a deep breath together. Hold it for a second, holding a moment of peace. And now exhale slowly, fully. And when you're ready, return to the room.